If you are planning to come off completely between your cycles, you are going to be very limited in your choice of the compounds you can use. For example, you should really never touch nandrolones if you are cycling on and off. They are extremely suppressive, and recovering from them can be very difficult. So that means nandrolone and trenbolone are out. Should you blast and cruise, or should you cycle anabolic steroids on and off? That is a very common question that I get asked all the time, especially from beginners who are thinking about using anabolic steroids for the first time. So today we are going to break down both approaches, the pros and cons of each, which approach makes more sense depending on your goals and situation, and I will also share my personal opinion so you can make the best decision for yourself. Let's first define what we actually mean by blasting and cruising versus cycling on and off. Blasting simply means going on a cycle where you run high doses of anabolic steroids, usually for a period of time like 16 weeks or more. The goal here is to add new muscle tissue as fast as possible. Then comes the cruise. Cruising means lowering your dose, usually to TRT level, which is a replacement dose of testosterone, just enough to keep your hormone levels in the normal range. In some rare cases, like for very advanced professional bodybuilders with extreme muscle mass, their cruise might be slightly above TRT just to maintain that size. Now, on the other hand, cycling on and off is the old school approach. You run your cycle, then you come off completely from anabolic androgenic steroids. And to recover, you use post-cycle therapy, also known as PCT. That usually includes compounds like HCG, Norpadex, and Clomid. The goal of PCT is to restart your natural testosterone production. You are basically trying to wake up your HPT axis again after it has been shut down during the cycle. Now, someone might ask, why not just keep blasting all the time? Why do we even need to cruise or come off completely? Well, the main reason is health. The longer you stay on and the higher the doses you run, the more stress you put on your body. Your health markers start to get skewed, cholesterol levels get worse, liver enzymes go up, kidneys get stressed, and overall your body gets stressed because of the constant high androgen load. You may start also to experience serious side effects. Plus, after a while, you will start to stagnate. You won't keep making gains forever. Your body will adapt and progress slows down or even stops. That is why you need to take a break, whether that is cruising or coming off completely and doing PCT. The goal is to let your body recover, bring health markers back in range, and reduce the stress on your system. So when you go back to your next phase, you are fresh, you respond better, and you can make progress again. So now, which approach should you follow? If you are serious about bodybuilding, if you want to compete, or even if you just want to build an impressive physique, maybe because your career in the fitness industry, then, in my opinion, blasting and cruising is the only way to go. And I will tell you exactly why. Let's say you want to come off completely between your cycles. You start your cycle in Jan, you run it for 16 weeks. Now, once your cycle ends, you can just jump into PCT right away. Depending on the esters and doses you were using, you need to wait at least 2 weeks just to let the compounds clear out from your system. Because if you start PCT too early, those anabolics are still in your body, and they will keep sending negative feedback to your HPTA axis, keeping your natural testosterone suppressed. So now you are already at least 2 weeks post-cycle before you can start PCT. A proper PCT usually lasts 6 weeks. That brings us to the end of June. Then you have to wait at least another 6 to 8 weeks after PCT to get your blood work done. Because if you get blood work done right after PCT, that blood work is useless, as it is still being influenced by the PCT drugs you just used. Now we are in the end of August at best. The best case scenario is you find your natural testosterone production is back to baseline and all other your health markers. But that is the best case scenario. Not everyone fully recovers, and in some cases, people may need up to a year or more to be fully recovered and feel normal again. But let's pretend we have fully recovered. So now we are in September. So now, What people are doing when they fully recovered? They go straight back on a cycle. So what did we really do here? You blasted for 4 months, then you stopped for 2 weeks, ran PCT for 6 weeks, waited another 6 to 8 weeks to recover. And during that time, you were going through hormonal fluctuations, your testosterone was crashing, you were losing gains, feeling like crap, libido gone, mood swings, maybe even depression. And let's not forget, the PCT drugs like Clomid and Nolvadex can have their own nasty side effects. Then finally, after all of that, once you have recovered and you start to feel normal again, guess what? You go right back on a cycle and shut your system down all over again. That means your natural testosterone production was recovered maybe for a couple of days out of the entire year, and you are back on a cycle again. And the first 8 weeks of your next cycle are spent trying to regain the size and the strength you lost during the recovery phase. So really it is like taking 2 steps forward and 1 step back every single time. I really don't think that is smart, it is not healthy, and it is a waste of time, money, and energy for a very little progress overall. Now, compare that to blasting and cruising. Instead of coming off completely, you just cruise on TRT. You let your health markers get back to normal, and you give body a break, and that break might only be 8 weeks or so. You stay stable, you feel good, you don't crash your hormones, and most important thing, you keep your gains. In fact, if you are nailing nutrition and training, you can actually make progress even while cruising. So when you are ready to blast again, you are not starting from zero. You are building on top of what you already have. Also, when you are cruising, instead of doing PCT, you can run your cycles longer and more often because the recovery phase while doing cruising is much shorter compared to going completely off and doing PCT. Just think about that for a second. How that going to affect your overall results after 5 years? That is how long-term progress is made. So in my opinion, if you are serious about bodybuilding, that blasting and cruising is the route to go. Don't waste time, don't waste money, and definitely don't put your body through all of that for nothing. You have to go all in. But if you are someone who is afraid to take risks in life and doesn't want to commit to being on TRT for life, then honestly, do to yourself a favor. Don't start at all, because you will just end up spinning your wheels, damaging your health, and never getting the results you want. And even if you keep cycling on and off for several years, eventually, you are going to end up on TRT anyway. Every time you start another cycle, there is always a chance you won't fully recover, and one day, you might not recover at all. Also, one more thing I have to mention, if you are planning to come off completely between your cycles, you are going to be very limited in your choice of the compounds you can use. For example, you should really never touch nandrolones if you are cycling on and off. They are extremely suppressive, and recovering from them can be very difficult. So that means nandrolone and trenbolone are out. You can also rule out MENT, which is not that necessary anyway. On top of that, running very long esters like equipoise is also a bad idea if you plan to come off, because it stays in your systems for a very long time, which means you will have to wait very long time before starting PCT, and that just increases the risk of failed recovery. So what are you left with? Testosterone, primobolan, masterone, and orals. That's it. Honestly, the only 2 scenarios where I can see PCT makes sense are these. Number 1, you tried anabolic androgenic steroids and you realize it is something not for you, and you have made the decision that you will never touch gear again. But let's be real here, I highly doubt that. In fact, I have never seen anyone do 1 cycle and never come back to use anabolic androgenic steroids again. Because once you have driven a Ferrari, you will never be satisfied again driving Mercedes or BMW. That is the truth. The second scenario is for fertility reasons. Some guys are blasting and cruising and their wife gets pregnant without any issues. But for others, it is not that simple. If you are trying to have kids and it is not happening, then yes, stopping anabolic androgenic steroids for a period of time and following a proper fertility protocol might be necessary. So outside of these two situations, I really don't see any reason to come off completely between your cycles. And if you are over 30 or especially over 35, your natural testosterone levels are already starting to decline in most people. So for guys in that age range, in my opinion, doing PCT between cycles doesn't make any sense. Why go through all that effort to recover natural levels when those levels are already dropping year after year? At that point, it is usually better to just commit to TRT and focus on feeling good, performing well, and staying healthy long term. But keep in mind, blasting and cruising is a lifetime commitment. You will need to do regular blood work, monitor your health markers closely, inject yourself multiple times per week, and stay on top of your nutrition and training, even more strictly than if you stayed natural. And all of that takes time, money, and energy. So you really need to be honest with yourself and ask yourself why you are doing this. What is the goal? What you are willing to sacrifice? Because if you do decide to go down that route, then you need to do it the right way. Go all in, be committed, be smart, and treat your body with respect because it is the only one you have got. And listen, if you are not willing to take any risks, that is completely fine. Just stay natural, and believe me, you can still build an amazing physique if you are training hard, eating right, and doing things consistently over time. But if you have made the decision to take your first cycle, then please watch this video right here before you start, where I break down the biggest mistakes beginners made on their first cycle. I will show you exactly how to start smart and do it in a smarter, safer way.